Get up and show up, don't ever lose your fight. You watching me from the couch, at least I say I tried. A long time ago, someone said this stuck with me. Passion without action will only remain a dream. Keep positive, motivated people on your team, cause other negativity can kill your self-esteem. Believing is powerful, but sadly so is doubt. So you can choose which way you wanna go, which route. The mind that controls the body can beat anybody, and gotta be all in, don't treat your dreams like a hobby. And if you practice on your day off, won't have an off day. Talent alone won't get you there, still got a long way. Gotta take big risks and big steps to strive. Wanna be the winner when it's game, set, live. Whoa.
Every time I see that, whoa, I am so blessed, and I'm blessed to be here with the Hall of Fame tennis coach, Rick Macci. We're here at Game Set Life, as you know. Welcome back, my dear friend. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm glad to be here. You know what, Dave? Everybody has a favorite day, and they usually say it's Friday, and their worst day is Monday. Well, for me, I love every day because I appreciate every day. But I have to be honest, Tuesday afternoon with you is becoming the leader in the clubhouse. So I feel great.
It is so interesting how if we set our lives up correctly, that we can be excited every single day. And there's certain people, not even necessary events, but certain people that make it that much better. And I find that you and I are blessed to go to some of the greatest events in the world, events that people really dream on their bucket list of attending. As the Australian Open's going on, you've been to every Grand Slam and every tournament imaginable within the context of your profession. But it's really the people that make the difference. And we get excited about certain athletes that we're coaching or mentoring, certain other athletes that we get to see, other coaches, other media people. And now your career has evolved beyond just being a coach. You are a life coach, but more importantly, what I define as a thought leader. And I love the fact that the new mediums available to us, not just traditional media, but now through social media, that we get exposure to the thought leaders of the world that never before could we ever approach, let alone ask questions and be available to. So for you, how has that impacted your life, that you're now not just a legendary tennis coach, but a thought leader, a world thought leader?
Well, first off, it's interesting because the cornerstone and our guests today, we're all cut from the same cloth, okay? But the cornerstone of what I've done my whole life is about leading, leading by example, looking at the positive things, finding a way, getting people to believe so they can achieve. That's been the cornerstone. It's not the biomechanics or the technical or the footwork. That's all, comes with the territory. But it's those qualities that I feel has helped me get the most out of young people to believe and do things they never thought they'd be able to do. But to be able to learn from others like yourself and to have access to this and just keep growing and getting better. So that's why I'm really excited with Jon Gordon today, because this is like amazing.
Yeah, we're so blessed to be around the greatest people with the biggest spirits of excellence. I had an interesting interview earlier today, and I was just so excited that we would be together as you are every Tuesday. And it's something that you and I are born under the same cloth, as you say, Buckeyes. We're going to grow into big oak trees. And we're both from Ohio, and there's a different energy and culture about Ohio, especially when we grew up. The type of work ethic and perspective that people in Ohio share, and a concern for each other, a community type of environment. But you and I were also both born, Serena, as you know, and Venus, they were born with the energetics and the genetics to be world champions. But when it comes to optimism, you and I were born with the energetics and genetics to be toptimists, the top of the optimists. And I had an interview today, and the gentleman wrote a book about silver linings, about being optimistic, but he said something really interesting. He said, I wasn't born an optimist. I had to learn how to be positive and learn how to be optimistic. Have you run into these types of people in your career, and what have you been able to do to, for you and I who are born into optimism, what were you able to do to teach them to be optimistic and positive?
Well, first off, great question. No, all the time, because people, a lot of times, they're going to look at things negative, and we get all these emotions, and we get that feeling shooting through our body, and we get all this negativity coming into us, and then we got to make a choice. And I just try to educate, whether it's a kid, doesn't matter if they're 8 years old, doesn't matter if they're 10, it doesn't matter if it's a parent. What I try to do is motivate them, and I don't even let them go there. I always look at the positive, even if they make a mistake. I look at it, very differently. And I try to lead by example. And I think that just rubs off on these kids in a different way. And like I said, the more that I can be like that, which I am all the time, I always just look at the positive. And some parents just want their kids around that type of environment. But even the parents, they don't realize that greatness has so much positivity. It's unbelievable. But we let everything else influence us. But no, first of all, that's a great question, because to me, as a coach and a mentor and a father figure and a role model, I look at it with a lot of pride that that's my obligation. But I don't go out and do it. I've just done it for so long and been so consistent with that mentality. What you see is what you get, So that's kind of how I am. And I love the feeling of helping others, because the more that you can do that and influence them, it's going to come back to you many times over.
And you never know where that influence comes from and the seeds that are planted. And one of the places that I think best plant seeds, especially in children, is books. And I know I may be antiquated in my perception, but whether it's an ebook, an audiobook, or they're reading a book, I believe that certain books can change lives. And of course, when I write the books that I've written, I write it with an evergreen intent of changing lives, that I want it to impact as many people, or at least plant as many seeds as I can to impact as many people as they will. For you, do you have a book list, or do you have, a top three book recommendation for people when they want to impact their mindset? You have any books that you would recommend?
Well, before I answer that, I am an open book. It's like what you say, what you get. This is me. And people always say, "Why are you always so upbeat and positive?" This is me. Okay, it works for me. But to answer your question, number one, back in the day, mental toughness training by Dr. James Lair, one of my best friends, a mentor when I, in the early '80s at Greenleaf. That was huge. And then we talked about this before, the inner game of tennis with Tim Galloway, even though that is tennis related, very different. It's all about looking at this through a different lens. So those would be my top two. And then obviously there's a book, and the guy has a lot of potential. His name's Rick Macci. It's called Macci Magic: Extracting Greatness from Yourself and Others. So, a lot of great nuggets in there about everybody I coach, but just how I grew up in Ohio, and, it's worked for me, and just looking at the world through a different lens and empowering other people. So those would be my top three, and probably even in that order, because the book that I wrote was just being able to share that with other people, which was great.
And other great things are the amount of opportunities, options, and touches of favor. And everybody knows the amplification of your brand and notoriety from the movie King Richard and your relationship with the greatest tennis players in the world. But now you have to field a ton of different opportunities. And one of the things that changed in my life as well, we had talked about this offline, is that, we really kind of went from what I call a second tier celebrity where, it's like, hey, have you heard of Rick Macci? Oh, who's that? Or, the Hall of Fame tennis coach. Oh, yeah. And now since the movie, you mentioned the name Rick Macci and everybody goes, oh, yeah, Serena, the greatest tennis coach of all times, or whatever else they think. And you move from that second tier where you have to explain, oh yeah, he was the CEO of Lee Steinberg, or, he ran Samsung phone division, or he wrote this book, or he does this, to no explanation needed. And now that you're in the category of no explanation needed, how are you prioritizing still while maintaining the greatest sports camps and tournaments and teaching and academy in the world, by the way. And I am saying that objectively, not subjectively, because I love you. I would be very honest if there was someone better. And I remember, in Newport Beach. So there was another guy who passed away recently who had a fairly good run at it, but there's no one better than Rick Macci. With all the different options and opportunities that you have, how are you prioritizing it while still growing the best tennis academy and teaching in the business?
Well, first off, you're right. A lot of things have changed around me, because of the movie, but I haven't changed at all. I'll be on court number 1 at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning, changing lives, and changing strokes. And that's what I do. And all roads are going to lead back to court 1. Now, that being said, people, they saw the movie, they saw Bernthal. My mustache was a little piece of astroturf. This guy had a big shrubbery on his face. So other than that, we kind of talked the same and had the same energy. So people now have reached out to me, and now that they've got to see me other than on court 1, because Dave, I don't leave the nest. I do this 50 hours a week, anybody, anytime, anywhere, 80 years old, the #1 junior in the world, if you're on the pro tour. So this is kind of what I've done. And people that have seen that, experience on my court, they know me. But now other people in your arena have. So what has opened is, a possible, TV situation, where people, maybe the Phenom Maker, that's what they're going to call it, speaking opportunities, book opportunities, the podcast with you, which is the best thing ever, because I just respect you so much and everything you've done. So at the end of the day, in no rush, going to go slow. If good things happen and can go to a next level, that would be great. But if not, I'm the happiest guy in the world. I'm going to get up tomorrow at 3 o'clock. I'm going to run a half mile. I'm going to be on the court at the same time. And who's ever in front of me, I'm going in 100%. But that being said, just from a business point of view, I'm going to look at every opportunity, because I want to be in a situation where I can now impact millions and millions, if not billions, by having a different platform. And you're going to be right there with me in the front row.
Well, I know why, because everybody saw the movie Jerry Maguire, and they saw that Tom Cruise played Lee Steinberg in that movie. And, we can find better. Maybe we'll get George Clooney to play you in the next movie that we do. Speaking of George Clooney, this is one of the few guys I know that is better looking and more charismatic than George Clooney. This guy is a winner on and off the court. He is a dear friend. We are 3 birds of the same feathers, as you'll find out here in the next few moments, as we bring on one of the greatest authors I know, best-selling author, speaker, and the president of the Jon Gordon Company. He's changing lives every day. My friend who has as much faith in the future that I do. Welcome, my dear friend Jon Gordon, to Game Set Life with Macci and Meltzer.
Hey, great to be with you guys. Rick, it's great to be with you and connect with you first time.
No, hey, nice to meet you. I always start off the show like this. We've had so many people on, athletes, entertainers. It's a pleasure to meet you, but I always look for common threads, because there's always these common threads. And in 1991, you had a bestseller, okay? And in 2007, you had a bestseller, and it was The Energy Bus. In 1991, that bus you saw me in Compton, that was a bestseller with Venus and Serena in the back seat, okay? And your book, The Carpenter, was amazing, okay? Helping others, building, and patience. My daily book is called The Baker. I find the ingredients, I mix it, I put it in the oven, I ice it, then I put a few sprinkles on it, and I make it stellar. And just like your books, some have become a bestseller. So welcome, Game Set Life, Jon. We're glad you're here.
Great to be with you guys, David. I love always talking to you. One of my favorite people on the planet.
Yeah, we feel the same way. And you have another book coming out that really, to me, resonates with me. And you and I have gone through a similar journey in the respect that we haven't always lived with the faith and perspective to be where we are and to be even further in the future. For me, my philosophy in life is really simple. There's something bigger than me, an omniscient, all-powerful, all-knowing source that loves me more than my mom. And so when setbacks, failures, mistakes happen in my life that occur every day, pain, then that's an indication to be aware of how protected and promoted and not punished that I am. For you, how were you able to shift your paradigm in your life from one of being punished to one of being protected and promoted at all times?
Great question, because I really believe that it's about God having a plan for your life and seeing God as for you, not against you. It's so funny because so often we say the universe is for you, the universe is for me, the universe is in our favor. But we have to remember that God created the universe to be in our favor. That's why the universe is in our favor. But a lot of times people will blame God when something bad happens, but they'll credit the universe when something good happens. And so for me, it's about believing in the creator of the universe. And there came a point where I stopped looking at my mistakes. I stopped looking at my challenges as challenges, but as opportunities. I was here to learn. I was here to grow. I was here to improve. I was here to get better. You go out there when you're playing tennis, you know, you have a competitor against you, but they're your partner in growth. So everything that you're competing against in life, everything you're facing is actually your partner in growth. Rick, my son was a tennis player, competitive tennis player, junior player throughout Florida, wind up going to IMG for 2 years. That's a whole other story. But
I'm not going to get out. That's okay. I understand.
yeah, but watching him grow as a tennis player, you know, the mistakes, the failures, the losing the tiebreakers, it helps you literally grow in life. So you can look at your challenges as things that are bad for you or something that help you grow.
Absolutely. I have a question for you. When you look at things and you talk to other people, because you've spoken to teams and you've done all kinds of speaking, how many conversations do you have with Jon?
With myself.
Yeah. Is that the leader
Well,
in the clubhouse?
I mean, one of my best pieces of advice is to talk to yourself, don't listen to yourself. So the conversations I have is not listening to the negative thoughts coming in, but speaking words of life, words of encouragement, words of power on a daily basis, because you can listen to those negative voices and those negative thoughts are always coming in. But I always ask athletes, do your negative thoughts come from you? And they say, yeah, of course they're in my head. But here's my next question. If you believe your negative thoughts come from you, who would ever choose to have a negative thought? Would you ever choose a thought that sabotages you? You would never choose that thought. So we have to understand thoughts are always coming in from a place of consciousness. There's the brain, which is the hardware. It's where activation happens. There's this internet cloud of consciousness where the thoughts are always coming in. And when the negative thought comes in, you don't have to believe the lies that they tell. You don't have to believe the fear that it tells. You can actually speak truth and words of encouragement to those lies. So I'm always looking in the mirror. I'm always self-aware. I'm always evaluating myself. I know my wounds. I know what holds me back. I know what moves me forward. I know what I need to work on. But more importantly, I know that I'm not going to hang out with liars, and negative thoughts are lies. So I'm not going to spend time with them. I'm going to spend time with the truth and speak words of life on a daily basis.
And, you know, John, another word of life that comes up a lot that confuses, especially younger people, and you deal with some of the greatest young athletes in the world, is so does Rick. In a team environment with the Rams, with professional colleges, the best in the world at Clemson, for example. I know you and Dabo are extremely close, and understanding this word has helped me. And I will start by saying the word purpose. And I try to teach people this saying, and I love other people to explain what it means to them. The thoughts about your purpose are your purpose. And I think it ties into what you're talking about. If I told you the thoughts about your purpose were your purpose, how best would you describe what that means to you?
The thoughts about my purpose are my purpose. I would say it goes to your why. The why gives it meaning and mission. Like when I ask people to choose a word for the year, one word that's going to help you be your best, one word that's going to give you meaning and mission, passion and purpose. People pick the word, but I say why. Why are you choosing that word? Why does that word matter? How does it give you meaning? So I would say the thoughts you think about your purpose gives it the intention and energy that gives it power. You can say what your purpose is, but if you're not living it, there's no power in it. It's like organizations. Everyone has a mission statement today, but only the great ones have people who are on a mission. And so to me, I think it's about, do you have that mission? Does it mean something to you? And as you think about your purpose, does it energize you?
To back up a second, David, and let me just go back. And this is a great story with Venus and Serena. When they were growing up, there was pressure on pressure. They were like legendary before they did anything. And then you had the dad out there blowing the smoke and the whistles and out of control. And then I'm saying she's going to be better in Capriati. So you talk pressure. People have no idea, but they looked at it as this is what it takes to be great. But the quote of all lifetime with me as Venus always said, Rick, we were brainwashed to be number one. We expected to be number one. Okay. We looked at this differently. And with young children, David, you can have such an amazing impact on how they look at the world, because everybody goes through their own process, and they were just wired differently, but they also listen. And that came from the great VW, and that's profound. I expected to be number one. I was brainwashed to be number one. And sometimes when you don't know anything and you just hear, you become that. So kind of what Jon was saying, that's like epi.
Rick, I love that because I watched the movie. I saw the movie, and I just love the movie. Obviously, your role in their life was incredible. Your belief in them, you're taking them under your wing was so great to watch. And it just shows the power of a mentor and having the right coaching. You could have someone who says you're number one, but then you also need someone to help you get to be number one and be there along the way on the journey. I think so often kids feel.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because the environment that was created around that was so positive and so uplifting, because there was bullets and darts and hand grenades coming every direction, as you could imagine, and just kept the eye on the ball. And a lot of things could have blown up catastrophically. 4 years with someone every day for 6 hours. And then Richard, I tell David, I should be in the Hall of Fame dealing with that guy, So no, at the end of the day, to how you can think, how you can get into someone's head, especially if they have the genes and the athleticism, and you can put it together technically, then you check all the boxes. And as they say, the rest is history.
The only problem with that is a lot of people will start to think that they can tell their kids, you're going to be number one. You're going to be number one. You're going to be number one. And I do believe that we need to positively brainwash our kids for greatness, because they're listening to our words that we say every day. You can brainwash them in a positive way or a negative way. But those kids also were kids that could embrace it. They were wired for that, to say it, but not allow that pressure to turn inward. They were able to turn it outward with their effort and their energy and what they wanted to bring on the court and their competition. So I think it helped them get better, not worse. Whereas sometimes kids today, if we say that to them, if they feel that pressure and they feel it in a negative way, it's going to actually hurt them, not help them.
But it's also interesting, David. I've never had two students work any harder than Venus and Serena. So there's another little caveat that kind of goes along when you go to Mount Rushmore. You just don't get that certificate.
It's so true. And, my mom, I always said, set me up for the same challenge when she kept saying how smart and gorgeous I was. And so I understand parents putting way too much pressure on a lower bar in your life, but I did the best with what I had. Speaking of doing the best with what I had, all three of us are Toptimists. We started off, Rick and I, talking about Toptimism, the top of the optimists. And you have an incredible podcast. And I suggest you bring on the Positive University podcast someone like a Rick Macci who can teach positivity, and I'll make that connection for sure. But we were talking about teaching people to be positive. See, I have a feeling that you join Rick and Macci in being genetically and energetically inheriting a happy gene or a positive gene. I certainly have. I'm the top of the optimist, and I just can't help myself. But you help so many companies, the biggest ones in the world, the biggest teams in the world, and the individual athletes in the world. And not all of them are born positive. What do you do to teach somebody positivity that isn't born into the great kingdom that we were of being positive?
Well, Dave, I got to tell you, I'm not naturally positive. So as you're saying
there
that,
you
I
go.
wish I was more like you and Rick naturally, but I'm not. And I think I've become a good teacher because I know what it took for me to become a more positive person. I literally would get up every day when I decided to be more positive, when my wife was going to leave me because I was so miserable and
We
negative.
have
Back
that
when I
in
was
common.
31 years old. I'm 31. My wife's like, if you don't change, we're over. I had 2 little kids and I was not handling the stress well. And it was at that moment where I said, okay, I got to change. So I took a walk every day and practiced gratitude, because the research shows you can't be stressed and thankful at the same time. So every day I would take these walks of gratitude, practicing gratitude, saying what I was thankful for out loud. As I'm walking, I would come back. I felt alive. I felt energized. I was creating a fertile mind that was ready for great things to happen. And what I've learned over the years is I rewired my brain from negative to positive. And so I teach it now in terms of you got to feed yourself every day in order to feed others. Because if you don't have it, you can't share it. And positivity is like a muscle. And we're not talking about fake positivity. This is about grit, optimism, belief, resilience, like seeing a brighter and better future. And the research from Duke University shows that optimists work harder, get paid more, and are more likely to succeed in business and sports. And what they found was that because they believed in a brighter and better future, they took the actions necessary to create it. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. It makes sense, right? What we believe determines what we create. So I teach how to be more positive with appreciation and gratitude and talking to yourself instead of listening to yourself, having a vision and purpose. And then also the keys in terms of how negative thoughts make us not positive, how they bring down and really de-elevate our state of mind. And the more our state of mind goes down, we get to a lower state of mind. We have more fear, more anxiety, more doubt, more clutter, more thoughts. And I've been teaching a lot lately how to raise your state of mind, raise your frequency, raise your energy, literally your frequency, because your brain is an antenna and you're either tuning into the positive or the negative. And it's about tuning into that positive. So I actually been teaching that. The next book, called The One Truth, is all about how to have a high state of mind instead of a low state of mind. It's about mastering your mindset. And I'm excited for this to come out because it's going to be revolutionary in terms of what I've been teaching athletes recently and how it's been helping them. I mean, literally, it's been transforming a lot of these athletes' mindsets by teaching this.
No, first, I love that. And you could imagine, because I work with a lot of younger kids and they're fresh out of the oven. So there's a piece of clay and I can mold this however. And sometimes when you're first to the plate, you can really influence someone. A lot of these kids will listen more to me than their parents about stuff like this, not make excuses, run for every ball. You know what I mean? All these things. And I got sayings all around the court. And if I can influence one kid with one word, I mean, to me, that's the most fulfilling thing. And you said the key word, gratitude. And David, you and I talked about it. I love every day, even though Tuesday afternoon is the leader in the clubhouse now, but I just love every day. It's not Friday. And I love Monday because most people don't like Monday. It's all how you look at the world. And when you can teach other people, that's the best feeling because you're changing someone's life.
Absolutely. And I have my own More Good News Wednesday because I always tell people, don't make Wednesday your hump day. There's nothing to get over, get around through, or force your way, into. It's just more good news is coming every single day if you have that perspective. Now, Jon, you've written 24 books, and that takes some time. And there's a lot of lessons and a lot of stories in those books. Your newest book is going to impact and change the world. I always say my neighborhood is my frequency and my frequency is my neighborhood. And, when we pay attention to frequency, it's amazing what signals we start getting and, what opportunities, options, touches of favor start to appear. And I know you and I shared at New Year's Eve that we just experienced the greatest year of our lives, and not just professionally, but personally. And we got to share that with our family. For you, what's the one lesson that's resonating with you most? Maybe in your new book, maybe in something that you're planning on teaching. But there is a lesson in a story you could share with us to finish up today that resonates with you so we can feel that frequency and hopefully impact even more lives.
Having a place in LA like I do, I live in Florida, but I have a place in Santa Monica, and it rained more in Santa Monica than it has in a really long time. I'm sure you're experiencing the rain too. Crazy rain. But all these years, we didn't know we had a leak because it never rained. And now that it rained a lot, all of a sudden I realized, wow, we got a leak. And the leak has been coming in and it's been coming into a closet. And now it's spreading to the wall and it's getting worse and worse and worse. And what I realize is when everything is shiny, when everything is going well, when the day is great, when life is good, you don't realize that you have those cracks in your foundation. You don't have those cracks, you don't have those holes. But as the storms come and adversity comes your way, you start to see those cracks that you have. It might be a loss, it might be something that happens to you in your life or your relationship. And they reveal the things that are holes in your souls. That we have this hole that needs to be healed. We all have a wound that needs to be healed. And as you heal it, you become whole, WHOLA. And that wholeness allows you to be your best in all moments, especially in pressure moments. You know, I remember my son competing in tennis, and there were many moments where he would escape during a point. He would escape. He would just go for a big shot, and he would escape. And he was escaping because he was hiding, because there were things he was hiding from in his life that needed to be healed. And then as you heal those things, you now can face life and take it on in a more powerful way. And I think when we do heal the wounds we have, we become the people we're meant to be. And it gives us more power to live in this world and take on this world. So I think we can all agree that we've all had stuff that has happened to us in our past, or challenges or trauma or pain or whatever it may be, where it's affected us. But the key is moving through that, healing that, so you can actually become someone who makes a bigger impact, makes a greater difference. And along the way, you're going to have a lot more success when you do that. So we all got holes, but the goal is to address it and then become whole, WHOLE. And I address that in the book as well.
And be grateful for the rain. Be grateful for the rain.
You have a leak.
The rain.
Well, I am just over the moon excited for you and the new book, and always any amount of moments or minutes that I can spend with the incredible Jon Gordon, and then add on the super legendary cherry on top, Rick Macci, the king of all swings. What a great day this is for me, and just proving that you can manifest anything you desire in life and business at Game Set Life. The incredible Jon Gordon. When's the book going to be released?
It's going to be out in June. And David, when you invited me to this, you're like, hey, do you want to join me and Rick Macci? I'm like, Rick Macci, are you kidding? Yes. Like, of course.
That's been my secret sauce my entire career. Hey, you want to go out to dinner with me and Warren Moon? You want to go? You know, nobody really wants to be here, but sooner or later, if people pick up on it, and then there's a few people out there would just come just to see me now, and I would definitely come just to see you. And I appreciate Rick Macci being my bug light to attract the greatest minds, souls, and bodies in the world. And that's what we get here in Game Set Life. Let's make a plan to get together. I know you and I have a bromance, but I think our wives even love each other more than we love each other. So I promised my wife I would ask you to go out. So let's get back together.
I love that. And Dave, I'd come see you any day, any event you're having, even if it was just you, because you are amazing, as you know, and impact so many. So you're enough. Trust me.
I feel that way, and I'm so grateful. Look forward to seeing you again. Thanks, Jon Gordon, for joining me.
Jon.
With the
You're
incredible
awesome.
Rick.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks,
Thank you
Rick.
so much.
Appreciate you. Appreciate you, Rick. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you. Wow. I love, Tuesdays are great, man. We get to see each other, but like, think about the quality of information that we're sharing directly from, right? It's great to read the books, and you got to read all 24 of those books. 5 of them are kids' books, but even those have great lessons and stories in them. But like, think about how blessed we are that we get to not only ourselves share the time and fill our curiosities and our holes, but more importantly, amplify it to millions of people that are going to really get the insight of someone who has taken the time to learn how to impact people like you and Jon Gordon on the same screen. You can't pay for this stuff. It's so invaluable. It's infinite in nature. What was your takeaway, Rick, from today?
Well, first off, everybody says gold's at an all-time high. There were so many gold nuggets from Jon. I don't even know where to start. I mean, this guy can articulate it so well. And if people just take a step back and take out little microscopic things that he said and start to get into a routine and structure, I love this guy. Okay. Even though he went to IMG and his kid never came to me. Hey, I don't look in the past. I look forward. But no, listen, the guy's unbelievable. And I would go listen to him speak anytime, anywhere.
Yeah, me too. And it was a blessing to have him on. Was there one particular thing that he discussed that really resonated with you? He dropped so many gold nuggets.
Yeah, no, the way when everything is almost taken any negative and turn into positive, stuff's going to come at you. You got to deal with it. Okay. It's not the end of the world. It happens to everybody. No one starts at the mountaintop. It's one brick at a time. He all talked about the failure to succeed. And this is what people have to do. You got to have patience, weather the storm, hang in there, even if it's raining in your closet, like in California, and that's my big takeaway. And I think that goes across the board, sports, business, any walk of life. And if people would just dive into this and start chipping away, they would be even more happy with themselves, and it changes everything.
Yeah, I share that sentiment, and I think about the rain, or analogously, the pain, right? Rain and pain are indicators that I have a better place to be. They're indicators of where those holes are so I can become whole. And those holes are spelled differently, from HOLE to WHOLE. And the wholeness and the oneness that's created, and the power that's created by addressing the leaks, addressing the pain and the rain in our lives, and understanding and learning the lessons. There's an old Sanskrit list of how to be human, and one of those lessons of how to be human is that pain is an indicator of lessons to learn, and the lessons will keep on coming until you learn them. And we're learning so many lessons here today. All right, we got one last question, then I'm gonna let you go in the productive, accessible.
Dave, I got one question for you. Even
Sure.
though the Energy Bus was a bestseller, you have to admit that bus I got in Compton, there was a lot of energy in that in the future.
Oh yeah, I love those scenes, especially when Richard like pulls up and leaves the girls, and it just reminds me of my dad, who was a little bit old school in the way that he taught things. It would be absolutely socially unacceptable today, and they probably call children's services on my father, but he taught me a lot of Buckeye grit, I'll tell you that. And people may or may not agree with those types of disciplines. I'm gonna ask a fun question to end up, because you and I have been circling around movies for a long time, and I'm sure you and I are going to executive produce movies together. You have some great stories to share, and I'd love to be a part of amplifying those stories about some great lessons that you and some of your clients have learned over the years, the biggest names in tennis, for example. But I'd love to know, what's your favorite sports movie and why?
Yeah, well, it's easy. It's a little old school, it's Rocky. I just like even Rocky 3. I like the underdog. I like, coming from nowhere and becoming the best. And if you think about it, that's kind of like the Williams from Compton. You know what I'm saying? And but that would be, to me, the best I've ever enjoyed. It was very motivating. Anything that's motivating, but Rocky would be my favorite.
It's so funny you say that, because a lot of people would think that Rudy, I've done a lot of different projects with Angelo Pizzo, David Anspaugh. They did Hoosiers and Rudy, and we did a movie called The 500 about Carl Fisher, the best entrepreneur I know that created the Indy 500. Unfortunately, it was the 2008 era, and we never got it out for the 100th anniversary. But someday people will see that multi-million-dollar film, The 500, as well. But I am not surprised that my favorite sports movie is Rocky 1 through 5 and Creed 1 through 3 now. I will tell you that there was one day that my genetic and energetic positivity was being challenged, and it's when I had to, from claiming bankruptcy, not only move from the homes that I owned and the golf courses and ski mountains to a rented house with rented furniture and a car, but worse, I had to tell my mom, who was the only reason I ever wanted to be rich, to buy her a house. I had to go tell her that I had lost everything. And in my stupidity, I'd kept her house in my name. So I had also lost her house. So she had to move. So when I was sitting in the edge of not being positive, of not being able to find the light, the love, or the lesson in this unbelievable circumstance, this rain that was pouring with lightning and thunder in my life, as I'm lying in bed thinking, I literally was saying to myself, and you probably have been here in your life, right? If I can look up, I can get up. If I can look up, I can get up. So I'm looking up, and I turn the TV on, and there, guess who was there? Rocky, at the end of the fight, looking up, getting up. He bloodied, the worst, makeup in the world today. We would laugh at that type of makeup. I'm crying in my bed. And my wife walks in, and I'm crying and watching Rocky, and she's like, "Hey, you got to snap out of this." And I said, "No, you don't understand. I'm getting up. This is my start. I'm going to get up and make this better." So as much as you would
That's
think
awesome.
Rudy would be my story, coming from an average Division III football player who gave his best just to be a part of a team and get a few plays on the field in college when nobody thought I could. My famous love of all sports films is not Jerry Maguire. It's not Rudy. It's Rocky, like the great Rick Macy, who's a Rocky in my life. And if we can look up, my friend, we can get up, and others will. They may laugh at us, scoff at us, and make fun of us, but eventually they'll applaud us. And that's what I'm doing today, applauding Rick Macy for creating this great show, Game Set Life. I just can't wait to see what you do next, my friend. Thanks for joining me.
All right, Dave. We'll see you soon.
You're awesome. All right, everyone. We're blessed to be here. The incredible Rick Macy. If anybody wants any information on Rick, it's info@rickmacy.com. If you'd like me to send you a book, sign it, pay for shipping in the book, david@dmeltzer.com. I'm always happy. Thank you to Jon Gordon. Thank you to Rick Macy. Thank you to our producer, Matt Mendoza. Thank you to everyone. But remember, most importantly, be more interested than interesting. Be kind to your future self and do good deeds. We'll see you next week.
There are times that I may slip up, won't always get it right. Guarantee I'll be on top when it's game, set, life. Get up and show up, don't ever lose your fight. You watching me from the couch, at least I say I tried. A long time ago, someone said this stuck with me. Passion without action will only remain a dream. Keep positive, motivated people on your team, cause other negativity can kill your self-esteem. Believing is powerful, but sadly so is doubt. So you can choose which way you wanna go, which route. The mind that controls the body can beat anybody, and gotta be all in, don't treat your dreams like a hobby. And if you practice on your day off, won't have an off day. Talent alone won't get you there, still got a long way. Gotta take big risks and big steps to strive. Wanna be the winner when it's game, set, live. Whoa.